Hello, Mr. Hollis?
Hey, how's it going, guys? What's up?
We're doing good. Thank you for asking, and thank you for joining us tonight. How's everything going for you?
Me. Things are good. Just got in from the gym.
Awesome. Got your swole on. Now you're ready to kind of kick back and have some fun.
Yeah, just a little bit of relax time. So thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Not a problem. And as I was telling Austin when I was listening to the show last night, I don't think he even knew right off the top until Adam mentioned it that you guys are tag team partners.
Oh, me and Adam, yeah, Country Jack, #1 right now it seems. So, yeah.
I saw that tweet on our Twitter. Somebody had sent us a tweet about that you guys were #1, and I just wanted to say congrats. I don't know. I can't even imagine how that would feel. I mean, to be looked at and compared to other tag teams and be in the #1 spot.
Thank you, man. And the thing is we just started this whole thing in November at PWX, which is like it seems like PWX is becoming the place to be now. Everybody's trying to get looked at there, which is really awesome for us and everything. But yeah, just in 2 months, this whole Country Jack thing is becoming something really, really special, and we're really looking forward to what the future holds on with that.
And you're talking about tag team partners in the Ring of Honor Top Prospect Tournament. Last week it was the first round matchups. You had Congo, last week's guest on the show, versus Raymond Rowe. He didn't pass on. Raymond defeated him. He's like the first guy in with the ROH Top Prospect Tournament. Then you came in. You're supposed to face Bill Daly. The guy came out in a suit, and obviously, he didn't want to wrestle for some reason. Then your old tag team partner from Alabama Attitude, Mike Posey. Mike Posey, yes. You have to actually face him, and you beat him. Does that mean? Is that like was that coming? Did you expect that to happen? I mean, was that
No, I mean,
of your tag team?
I mean, no, not really. I kind of felt in a way though something soon would end up happening, but I didn't know it was going to happen that fast. I felt, the fans were taking to me a little bit more than what they were taking to him. And, Posey's a great guy. He's awesome, and I really appreciate everything he's done for me and everything. But, now it's time to try to brand Corey Hollis. And, I felt like that was something that just needed to happen.
And it did, and you actually beat him to actually move on to the ROH Top Prospect Tournament. I'm not sure who are you actually. Do you know who you're facing next in this round? Didn't it happen already? Like pre-tape?
Yeah, I wrestled Raymond Rowe, and that will air on TV Saturday and Sunday.
Awesome.
I was going to say it would have been possible for you to actually face him next, considering you guys are still in the first part of the tournament.
Yeah. So I wrestled Raymond Rowe.
I'm curious exactly. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying I wrestled Raymond Rowe, and that will air this weekend on ROH TV.
Yes. Austin definitely keeps the tabs on that. He lets us know what's going on in the world of Ring of Honor. As last year we had, I guess at this point it's safe to say, Austin, would you agree, the longest reigning television champion in Ring of Honor history, Matt Taven, on with us last year.
Matt Taven, Jesus Christ. With what he did, he won the ROH Top Prospect Tournament and then goes on to become the ROH TV champion and then eventually the longest reigning ROH TV champion of all time in Ring of Honor. That kind of says something about everybody that goes on to actually win this tournament. I mean, you look at Michael Elgin and just a couple of others. They've all gone on to do so many great things.
There you go. Corey, I just wanted to ask you, it was talked about with Adam yesterday, so I kind of wanted to get your point of view as far as how you, because everybody, there's something it's different for everybody how they caught the bug, so to speak, to want to pursue professional wrestling. What was it about with you that made you kind of think you wanted to go ahead and just start doing this?
I mean, wrestling's always been a part of my life. I can think back to when I was about 4 years old. I had like the little WCW ring with the old school Sting and the old school Luger and the old school Rick Rude action figures. My first memory of actually watching wrestling, I was 6 or 7, and the NWO was in the ring doing what the NWO does, and I was just in awe. And from then on, that's what my life has always been. It's always been
now,
wrestling.
If during that era, usually would say it's safe to say it's the Attitude Era, but obviously parents weren't always thrilled with what what we watched back then. Was your parents okay with what you were watching on there? Did you watch WWE during that time as well?
Oh, no, I was not allowed to watch WWF at all. I still found a way to do it, but WWF was a no-go. Now, they would let me rent the tapes because I was like a huge Kevin Nash fan when I was like 6 or 7, which doesn't make any sense now considering I'm only 5'7". But I was a huge Kevin Nash fan, and they would let me rent In Your House VHSs with that had Diesel versus Bret Hart and stuff. Yeah, exactly. Which I still watch those all the time, too. So.
Considering that they were puppies on Raw, your parents should have let you watch that, without any instructions.
You did just say that.
I did just say that.
Yeah, my mother would not allow that to happen.
Understandable. And as far as during that time, so obviously you were watching the WCW. I mean, they had crazy stuff on TV, but nowhere near as crazy as WWE pushed the envelope to. But so you started watching. You got caught the bug at a young age and started watching. And how did you make your connections to be able to be trained to be a wrestler? Who did you go to? Was there a particular school in mind that you had your eyes set on to go and learn how to wrestle?
Well, there was this guy down in Alabama. His name is Will Owens, and he was renting this ring out to these backyard guys. I'm not going to say Corey Hollis did or did not do backyard wrestling, and I'm not condoning it at all. But I went out there, and, he was teaching these guys how to bump and stuff, and it was wrestling season just ended in school because I wrestled amateur for about 4 or 5 years, and
nice.
I had a tough week before I got to meet Will and everything, and he taught me how to fall, and he noticed just like right then and there that that's what I wanted to do, and after I learned how to bump, and he said, keep going faster, keep going faster, keep going faster, and we were off to the races then, and I mean it was tough. I mean he brought in guys like Christian Haim to help, Adam Jacobs, Adam Roberts, Patrick Bentley, Posey came in a good bit, and they helped groom me. I mean, and they polished me off, and they really helped me learn with all the basics, and that's the main thing that people I feel like are lacking is basics.
And that's kind of like the common interest, the common thing that you see in wrestlers who've been really successful. They're really good at what they do. They've actually had an amateur background, like Dolph Ziggler, Brock Lesnar, and a bunch more others.
Kurt Angle.
Kurt Angle. Yeah, exactly. And I guess you having that basically puts you, a huge advantage over some people. I'm not trying to say that to slate them or whatever, but that
it's a good thing that he knows how to do that.
I mean, it does, but I've always been into athletics. I grew up like a normal kid. I didn't sit in the house all day and play video games. I was out having to actually do stuff and working on a farm and, working in a garden, from morning to night, I mean, and the thing about that is Will really pushed my work ethic, and that's what I really appreciated him from anything was the work ethic and him testing me to see how bad I really wanted it. Because you can't really appreciate something unless you really worked for it. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And as far as your time in Ring of Honor, I mean, have you actually gotten to sit down and talk with some of the guys and maybe have them watch your matches and critique, or even on some of the indie shows that you maybe got to work with some of these guys? Was there anybody that you decided to want to actually approach and maybe have them watch your match and give feedback on what you could do better?
Oh, well, right now the biggest thing for me is having AJ around.
Yeah.
I mean, ever since I was 12, like I said, I started watching, being a huge fan of wrestling when I was 7. I really didn't appreciate how wrestling worked until I was about, 12, 13. And that's when I really became fans of the guys like Angle and the Benoits and AJs and the Bret Harts and all those, and the Guerreros and all those guys. And the first time I ever saw AJ, that's what made me want to be that I knew I could make this happen. And having him around is just the coolest thing ever. And he pushes me hard, because as soon as I'm done with the match and I walk through the curtain, he's right there yelling, "Corey, come here," and he tells me what I did and what could be better and how, just different psychology things and everything. And to have that, because he, to me, he's my biggest person that I've ever looked up to.
I was actually watching a High Spots interview they actually came out with last week or this week, of him actually saying he actually, one of the things he was looking forward to when returning to the independents was to actually help, the future people of Ring of Honor out, and just anyone he could. He actually, seems to really like doing that.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's such a great guy, and he loves wrestling, and he just wants to give back, and that's what's so awesome.
Any chance of Corey Hollis versus AJ Styles in the future?
Amen.
Well, actually, February 7th, I will be tagging with Sean Simpers against AJ and a guy in Georgia named Cody Roberts in Blue Ridge, Georgia.
Nice. Wow. To knock that off your bucket list, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah, and he's looking forward to it, too, so it's going to be really fun.
I wanted to ask you, before actually going into Ring of Honor, did you have your sights on, did you ever, were you ever following Ring of Honor beforehand?
Oh, yeah. I've always, I was huge, and, when I first, started wrestling, that's when Davey Richards was popping up big, and I was huge on Davey. Davey and Dragon, and I love the Kings, and, I'm a big fan of Eddie and Roddy. Don't tell them I said that, though, but, it's always enjoyed watching wrestling, and Ring of Honor was actually my first goal, and not a lot of people really remember, but in my first year of wrestling, I actually got to have a match in Ring of Honor. It's kind of, erasing everybody's memory, but yeah, and that was really, I wasn't really ready, but, it was a really great learning experience looking back on it.
Nice. And, I was reading something that Austin had posted concerning what Kevin Kelly had talked about. I mean, do you actually sit down and have some chats with Kevin about maybe, because I know one thing I've always talked about with some of the past guests is a relationship with their commentator, because the more they know about you, the more they can put you over in the ring. Do you guys ever sit down and just kind of talk about that?
Yeah, me and Kevin, we're, he's helping me make Corey Hollis come out more. You know what I mean? Be more of what Corey Hollis really is. And Carino, he knows me. I call him my wrestling dad. He knows me so well. And, he knows everything about me from in and out. But yeah, I feel like that's really important. And, in my matches, I always try to listen in a way to see what the commentary's saying or what they would say.
And who would you say that you actually try, I mean, not necessarily to do it like them, but who would you say you try to make your style similar to when you get in the ring?
I mean, everybody could probably say AJ, for sure. Yeah. A little bit of AJ, a little bit of Guerrero, Benoit. I get a lot of Brett sometimes, but more than anything, I hear the AJ comparisons.
Another guy you
compare. Before you came on too, is that Austin was mentioning something about being compared to one of the greatest in-ring performers of all time, Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, that's awesome. I don't even know what to say to that.
Yeah, I know. I'm being compared to Shawn Michaels, that definitely, for somebody to say that, you have to be really good at what you do.
I mean, somebody must see something. I'm not saying I don't see it, but I'm just saying that's some big shoes to fill right there. Shawn Michaels, he's one of the best. I remember I actually got the opportunity to go to WrestleMania 25 as a guest.
I was there too.
Skybox. Yeah, and sit in the skybox next to Flair, watch Shawn and Taker.
No kidding. Are you serious?
I was in awe. That's the greatest match of all time to me, is Shawn and Taker.
Amen
from that Mania.
Wouldn't doubt it. Would not doubt that. I mean, just that match itself, and then to actually, I don't know. I think both matches from 25 and 26 were great, but it's one of those things
my preference is still 25, but
It's kind of like those matches are really what I think all of us live to watch wrestling for.
Yeah, I mean the story was there. I mean, and that's what it was. It just wasn't two random guys just going out there trying to have a This Is Awesome match. There was a meaning behind everything that they did. And that's what made it so special.
Now, is there any interest in actually you going to places like, Japan?
Oh, yeah, definitely. If the opportunity came, I would totally jump on it.
Anybody have in mind that you would want to, wrestle?
From Japan?
Yeah.
I think me and Devitt could have a really cool match. That's me being, probably selfish or, I don't know if that's the most non-humbling thing to say, but I think me and Devitt could have a really great match. I would just love the opportunity just to go over there and learn. I mean, and be a sponge. That's pretty much.
Speaking of learning how to, just getting, because obviously in the wrestling business, it's you're always learning something. If there was anybody that you could actually ride down the road with and just let them kind of talk and tell you some stories, I mean, who would you actually want to take that ride with, or maybe a few people at that, for that matter? Or is it just particularly one that you would just like to kind of hear some stories of how they came up in the business and maybe kind of pick their brain about certain scenarios?
Bubba, I mean, I don't know if we have enough time for that. There's so many guys. I mean, AJ, getting to be around him, that's really helping out a lot with just like my thinking of, and not just of wrestling, but just like the things outside of wrestling with how business is ran and everything, and just all that. And, guys, I would love to learn from like a Shawn or even a Triple H, bless their souls, Eddie and Benoit. That would have been an awesome experience. I kind of hate that I'll never get that, but, there's just so many guys, anybody really. I mean, I love listening to Robert Gibson and Ricky Morton talk to me for 30 minutes about just crazy stuff. I mean, it's awesome. It really is. And just anybody, I mean, because if you can have, if you can take something from this guy and this guy from the 80s and then this guy from the 90s and this guy that's a present day, and you can mold all that into something, just one thing, and make that a nice canvas of a painting. I mean, I think right there, that's what, guys really don't do enough of, is try to, find resources like that. They just think going out there and doing a match they saw on TV is what's going to get them over, and that's not it. That's not it at all.
That's true. And in fact, I was going to say, leading into the second part of that question, I don't know if you've seen, whether it be on Facebook or Twitter, people occasionally will put up this little Mount Rushmore of professional wrestling. If you had the choice to put up those four up there, is it four? I think it's four. Up there as far as who you felt were the top four, in your opinion, of all time. Could you name those top four, or would that be a little kind of too many to put up there?
There was 5 Mount Rushmores, we might be okay.
Well, let's just say it was 5. What would you say?
Man, I mean, you got guys like AJ, number one AJ. I'm sorry. I know I go back to him a lot, but... Oh,
no, please. Yeah, this is your choice here. Nobody else...
Yeah. He's the be-all, end-all of wrestling to me. AJ, Shawn Michaels, definitely Shawn, Eddie, Benoit, Malenko...
wow. Great choices,
Brian
man.
Pillman. I mean, there's just so many, Steve Williams. I mean, there's just so many guys that I try to, learn from and, take apart. Like entertaining-wise, guys like Austin, I mean, there's never going to be another Steve Austin ever. Nobody's ever going to be able to come out and genuinely cut a promo like him, ever. And it's awesome. There's just so many guys out there that are just amazing.
You talk about Chris Benoit. I will always say this, and this is my personal opinion. I think he is the best of all time, in my opinion. As a wrestler, he was. I never seen a bad match of his, and I love Chris.
Going back even to Japan as well, I can definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, Benoit was great. I mean, he did or what he did or what everybody says he did. Who knows? That's not for us to understand. The only people that need to know are people involved in God. That's it.
Yeah, that's true. That's basically it. Speaking of in that direction, I wanted to ask your opinion about what WWE had recently announced as far as the Ultimate Warrior going into the Hall of Fame. How do you feel about that?
They got to make money somehow.
I mean, did you ever really watch any tapes of him or see him in action when you were younger?
I did, but he scared me. I mean, to be honest, like when he did that thing when he did that thing when he came into WCW, I was just like, I don't like it. Like I probably legit had nightmares. I'm not sure, but I'm like, I understand, the history of him and everything, and what he did for wrestling and everything. That's cool. But but for me, I'm not. I would much rather see Randy Savage be the headline this year.
Thank you.
Anybody else you'd want to see be inducted that hasn't been inducted already?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Oh,
are you still there, Corey?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, I was going to say anybody else that besides like Randy Savage, anybody else you think deserves to be in the Hall of Fame this year?
Oh man, that's so crazy. I would like to hear a longer Arn Anderson speech.
Yes.
I would really.
He did an amazing speech.
I would really enjoy to listen to him. I wouldn't mind seeing Nash and Razor getting inducted. I really would. I would really.
I think their time is coming very soon.
Yeah, I would really enjoy that. I think that could be a funny speech.
Well, look at it. What about DX altogether? Like Triple H, Shawn Michaels, X-Pac, continue. All those guys on one stage being inducted, hopefully with China too. That would be insane.
It has to be with China, otherwise it wouldn't work, in my opinion. But
that would be cool. That would be cool. But I would, in my personal opinion, I'd rather just see the Click get inducted.
I've heard stories about them from in the 90s, and they were definitely some crazy cats back then. But I think they still are even today. But now, seeing how Ring of Honor actually lately, or at least for the last couple of years, WWE would they say they don't watch their rival company, other rival companies out there, but obviously that's not true. Obviously, they wouldn't have noticed that guys like Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, guys like when Chris Hero was there, guys like Cesaro. They obviously do take notice, and they dip into the Ring of Honor pool if the opportunity presented itself to maybe jump ship over to WWE. Do you feel you're ready to make that jump, or do you feel you still need to get your feet wet a little further and build your time in Ring of Honor?
I was just actually talking about that because I really want that Ring of Honor run. I want that.
I can respect that.
I mean, if WWE did come to me, I think if I said, hey, this is what I want to do, I want to try to get more experience before I come to y'all. Yeah. And I know because they've, some of my friends have told them that the same very thing, and they went to Japan and Europe and done other things and stuff that some people have actually told them to do. So they actually respect, from what I gather, they actually respect you when you say stuff like that to them. And honestly, for me, I really much rather have a Ring of Honor run, like a very good, maybe 4 or 5 year run at Ring of Honor before I would even try thinking about going there.
How long have you been a part of wrestling, though, if you don't mind me asking, Corey?
I'm sorry?
How long have you been involved in wrestling? As far as when did you officially have your first match?
March 14th of 2009 was my first match, so it'll be about 5 years this year.
Nice. All right. Sorry about that, Austin. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was going to say, I really love that you said about being in Ring of Honor. And you guys feel that's what every single person who came from Ring of Honor and was on the show in the past have said the exact same thing. They want to be in Ring of Honor, and that really stands out and says something because that company, is just to be there. I think it's just pure wrestling. That would. I always lose my words when I talk about this stuff, but Ring of Honor is it with wrestling. They are wrestling, And I love that you said that about, staying there and really getting experience from there. Which I don't think you need much more experience. I think you're pretty damn good yourself. But whatever you choose, I think it's great.
Thank you, man. It's just Ring of Honor is very special, and it's dear to me because I'm always going to be a wrestler. That's just how I am. The way I was raised by my grandfather was off of hard work. I put hard work into the mat in amateur wrestling for as many years as I wrestled, and I feel like I did the same thing, if not more, in what I do now. And and when you have that so many great group of guys that come together and they're all hungry and they want the whole company to grow, I mean that right there is what makes everything worthwhile. Everything.
And to get into a place like Ring of Honor, it's there has to be something that really sticks out, with you and with anybody that gets on the roster. There has to be that little thing that makes them say, we really want them to be on the roster and entertain these fans. And the Ring of Honor fans in general is a topic in itself, and just with they love to watch wrestling.
Yeah, and that's what's awesome is seeing so many guys appreciate that. And I mean, it's not just in and right now it's looking like in the Indies it's hitting that way too. I mean, with like PWX, I mean, I love wrestling there. That's my favorite. Like honestly, that's my favorite place. And getting to do this whole Country Jack thing is the coolest thing in the world. I love PWX. I mean, I would love to try to get out to Pro Wrestling Guerrilla one day because I just see all of my friends going out there having so much fun, and that's what wrestling is. You gotta love what you do and you gotta have fun with what you're doing. If not, you're going to drag yourself into a hole and you're just going to be forgotten about in a few years.
Mm-hmm.
Very true. Who were some of your favorite talkers in the wrestling business, whether it be today or of the past that you have seen? Who have been some of your favorite people that are on that talk on the mic, of course?
Oh, Austin, for sure. He's number one. Just the way, like, he tells such a great story with not just his vocals but his eyes. You can tell all of his emotions with his eyes. And that's what makes, I feel like, a best promo person. It's not just what they say, but what they do with their eyes. And, like, and that's a very important thing. I loved how Sean could tell a story, especially what he was doing with Taker, like how they did those promos. I mean, it was amazing.
Absolutely.
And, it just, and for me, I'm the type of guy, I can't, if somebody comes and hands me like a whole script, I can't do it. I just got to have bullet points and be able to run with it.
Yeah.
I don't even know what I'm going to say before I even walk out the curtain, or when I'm walking to the ring. I don't. I just go off the top of my head.
And actually, that's a good question to ask you. I was going to mention, nowadays how everything is so scripted, as it was pertaining, as far as cutting promos, going back into the early 90s, late 80s, to up to maybe the mid-90s to the Attitude Era, a lot of times all the promos weren't as scripted. People would just kind of wing it, and they'd still get their point across. Whereas today, people are talking for you, and you kind of have to make it a point of still making it work. You make people feel what you're talking about, and it's not always working. I mean, do you feel that maybe the writers should kind of be kicked to the curb and let people go out there and cut the promos from their heart or their mind or however they do it to get the point across? Guys like you mentioned, Austin, he didn't really need somebody to talk for him. He knew what he was going to say. It's like even God rest his soul, Paul Bearer. Just to name a few guys like Undertaker, Triple H, even Shawn. They didn't really need scripts. They kind of just went out there and said how they felt.
I don't think they need to be kicked to the curb because I always feel like there is a place for them in this. There's a place for everybody in this, but I think what lacks is. What's the best way to say this? You can't go out there and say, I'm thirsty when you're not thirsty. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean,
no, you're right. You can't just come right out and say something, but you kind of have to have to make people feel what you're saying.
There has to be a meaning behind what you say. There has to be where they actually have to take time to really understand what you're saying. They're like, oh, okay, well, I understand what he's really trying to say and try to convey to us.
Yeah, I mean, like the best promos, I feel like, are the ones about frustration, and not necessarily with management or anything. But when you have, like, something you're pissed off about, somebody's been riding on you, poking you, and saying you can't be this and you can't be that, and you finally say, hey, I can be this, and then you go out there and you tell that story with your matches, and you keep saying, what you are and who you are. I mean, that's what makes it more genuine. You know what I mean?
And that was Stone Cold. Because Stone Cold, what made him so popular as he was, is that he could relate to the fans could relate to him, and he was a guy that you felt like you could kind of like hang out with at the same time as watching him, And that's what made him so popular.
Okay, everybody knows I'm not going to be the tallest guy in the room. Everybody knows that. But I like to think I'm a stocky little dude, and I can, I'm not trying to say anything, but I pick up heavy things a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I can throw a 245-pound guy with no problem, and, and I can, if I can say that, and tell that story and make it mean something rather than just do it, but like I can, make so much out of it, it makes everything better.
I think the issue too, go ahead, I didn't mean it, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, if y'all could ever find the stuff that I did with Caleb Conley last year, a lot of that stuff we did, was real. It was my real frustration with everything. It was, how I've been, like, told, this is how you're going to be, this is what you're going to be, and, you got to, like, that stuff, like, eats at you, I want to say Jericho said it best. He said, don't be, like, cocky, but you kind of got to have a chip on your shoulder to, try to get somewhere. And you got to play the game, but at the same time, there's got to be something inside you that says, no, not today.
Well, you got to have that. I mean, obviously, if you can't let anybody really push you around, because if you let other people push you around, they're going to step over you and become more successful than you. And you kind of have to have like that, like you said, that chip on your shoulder, not big enough where it make you, basically get you fired, but just enough where it makes you get to the next level.
Exactly. I mean, what I feel wrestling lacks a lot now is people that are not really genuine with what they are and who they are. They always want to be, everybody in the world wants to be an AJ Styles or a Davey Richards right now. I mean, that's good. And it works for them. That's what got them there. But what is going to make this guy different than everybody else?
Mm-hmm. And I was just actually going to say, too, as far as size goes, that's nowadays compared to what it was like in the 80s to the early 90s. It was all about the big guys, the big muscular meatheads. But you see guys like Rey Mysterio, guys like Dean Malenko, guys like even many people don't really talk about him too much. But I mean, this guy was, he was a beast. And I talk about Taz when he was in ECW. Him and the matches he had with Sabu were some of the most brutal matches I've ever seen. But I mean, that just goes to show you that just it's not the how's that saying go? You guys, it's not the size of the fight in the dog or the dog in the fight or something like that.
Yeah,
I don't know how to say that. Is you get in there and you show them what you got, and what most smaller guys will probably put on a better match than any bigger guy.
Yep.
Anytime.
Oh, that's true. I mean, and I love Taz. I mean, I love watching his old stuff, too. I think one of the matches he had with Angle, I mean, it was actually really good looking back on it. A lot of guys don't really put it over, but, and in a way, I could probably base my style off that, too. It's just, I don't really do a lot of the flips, because everybody else my size does the flips.
You need to.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really need to. I mean, you could if it works for you, but, you got to stick to, obviously, what works for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I can pick up a guy, as long as it's believable, people are going to react.
That's right.
I mean, there's 400 guys in the world that do flips. What's going to make me any different?
And that's what we had on Blackjack Mulligan a few weeks ago, the beginning of January, and he was saying that the best way to, get the crowd riled up is not by doing all these. I mean, it might work for a little bit doing the flashy flips and all these star stuff and whatever. The best way to actually get them riled up is to take it out on another guy that you're wrestling against, to really make them. That's what he said. So I think he being Blackjack Mulligan, I think he knows what he's talking about when he says that.
He wouldn't be a Hall of Famer if he wasn't.
Exactly. Everybody has different flavors of ice cream. Don't get me wrong. I love watching that stuff. I love being involved in some of that stuff. I had a really awesome match with Rich Swann last year, and I loved it.
Yes.
It's just trying to find your own way and trying to be different than everybody else. It can be tough. It really, really can be really tough. And it's always going to be tough, but that's what makes all of it special.
And since they actually talked about this last night, I have to ask because I couldn't believe that I would hear this be talked about. But are you a connoisseur of anything? Obviously, Adam is obviously one of biscuits. Is there something that you're a connoisseur of, or I don't know if I said that word right, anyways? But what do you think about that?
No, not really. Not really. Adam loves his biscuits. I know that. I don't get the opportunity. I don't live on a farm now. After my grandfather passed and my grandmother's not doing so well, I just got me a little house / apartment in the middle of the country somewhere. But, I don't have that opportunity anymore. I miss those days, though.
I imagine you do. And I was going to touch on something you mentioned earlier. I think I remember you were talking about this with Austin, is that you have some future shows coming up. And you even mentioned that you're going to be in a tag match against AJ coming up in I believe you said it was February. But do you have any upcoming shows maybe later this week? I mean,
yes, I will be.
Honor to be playing on Saturday, but
I will be in Cornelia, Georgia, Saturday for Anarchy Wrestling. The weekend after that, I will be at a little show here in Birmingham for Global Championship Wrestling, and then the week after that, I will be. That's when I'll be wrestling AJ, which I'm really, really looking forward to. And then the next night's my birthday, and I'm wrestling Kyle Matthews at the Ted Allen Memorial Show, and I want to say Billerica, Georgia. So
very cool.
And then
if you were given the opportunity to travel to the Cauliflower Alley Club, would you take it?
Oh, heck yeah, definitely in a heartbeat. I mean,
what about
the opportunity.
Definitely. Being with everything that happens over there, I mean, all the legends and stuff and everything that's talked about, most definitely.
Yeah, exactly. Fortunately, I always get to go to the NWA Legends thing every year, which is really cool, and getting to hear stories from all those guys. It's so awesome. I love picking, all those guys' mind because they're not always going to be here forever. Mm-hmm. I mean, 10 years from now, that load's going to be put on other people, and it's not going to be as special as it is now.
Now, did Adam say that he actually got to work with Jimmy Valiant, the Boogie Woogie Man? Or did I hear him correctly?
He never told me that. I don't
know, Austin, you guys were talking about that last night. Did he mean that guy, or? I heard you guys talking about Jimmy Valiant, I think.
Maybe.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I have to re-listen to the show again, but I could have sworn I heard that you guys were talking about Adam working with him at one point, or being, I think, trained by him. I don't remember exactly what was talked about, but I heard that name mentioned.
I can't remember.
That's okay. We'll listen back to the show later or something. But I was just curious, and if you guys knew about that, because I think I believe he's got a school out there in I'm not sure if it's Alabama.
It's probably in Memphis. There's nothing in Alabama. There's nothing.
Or was it maybe Tennessee? Yeah, it might be Tennessee. But yeah, because I'd heard he had a school, and there are schools around here, and reputable schools, obviously, with like Lance Storm, like Harley Race. The Dudley Boys got theirs out there, Team 3D, whatever you want to call them. And just recently, obviously, Austin and I really love to blow this place up really good because it's just an amazing place. Is obviously the Battle Arts Academy, the new location. Santino Marella and his partner Stephen Wong opened up in Canada.
Let me tell you something. They have, this is like the most insane place I've ever seen in my entire life. If you're interested in like anything MMA, jiu-jitsu, and all the other stuff, but they have every single like one of their like styles in one building, basically. That's the whole entire deal. And I mean, once I seen that, I'm like, oh my God, it's like the perfect place for anybody to go to. That's actually one of the things I wanted to ask you. Are you actually in things like jiu-jitsu? Because I know like there's the ACH and Eddie Edwards, Dave Richards, Kyle O'Reilly and stuff. Are you into that?
I was a big fan of it until Brock Lesnar went to UFC.
Oh.
I mean, that's just me. When all that happened, because it was different. I mean, in a way, it's still different, but it's not the same as what it used to be. And there's so many guys now; it's so hard for me to follow, and I don't have time to watch it anymore, anyways. But I used to, when I first started doing professional wrestling, I was actually coaching amateur wrestling. I mean, I don't have any desire for jiu-jitsu or MMA really, but I've always, had my heart's always going to be in amateur wrestling.
Yeah.
Understood. And as far as the fans want to keep up with what you're doing, as far as your next shows and so forth, obviously we know you do have a Twitter. Do you take part in any other social media that you keep, post your upcoming shows on?
The Twitter is pretty much the best way. If you can find me on Facebook, that's cool. I try really hard to keep Facebook for family and friends. But Twitter is the best way, and that's at Corey Hollis, Corey Hollis. But yeah, that's most of mine and Adam's stuff is on there, and then you can also follow PWX Pro and Ring of Honor.
Now, do you actually have some of your merchandise sold on Adam's website too, or do you have your own little setup for your merchandise?
PWX has all that.
Gotcha. Awesome. And Austin, did you have any other final questions for Mr. Hollis tonight?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I really look forward to seeing everything you're going to do in the future. Like, really, I mean, the first match I've seen of you, I was always impressed with what you do. This is like, stuff that you do makes me say, after I'm like, well, this is why I love wrestling. And that's kind of like, that's the same feeling I get with when I watch things with people like Michael Elgin and Tommaso Ciampa and so many other guys. That you're really good at what you do. Thank you so much for doing everything. It's really, really entertaining.
That means the world, man. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Not a problem. We look forward to hopefully bringing you back on again. We could even be talking to a future television champion. You never know.
Let's hope so.
You never know what the future holds. We might be talking to you later this year, and you might be holding that belt because it happened, like I said, it happened with Matt Taven.
Let's hope so. We'll have to wait and see.
We wish you the best of luck on that tournament, and thank you again for joining us tonight.
Thank y'all for having me.
We wish you the best of luck on your upcoming shows, and we'll be watching on the tournament, and hopefully you'll take the win there. But did you have anything else? Any final comments to throw out there as far as any plugs? I think we got every plug that you had, right?
Thank y'all for having me, and keep supporting wrestling in general. Without the people, without the fans, we wouldn't be anything. So thank you for just believing in what we do and who we are and what we're doing for y'all. And that,
there you go.
That right there is all I could ever ask for.
Amen to that. That's a great deal. Great way to close out tonight's show. We thank you again for joining us tonight, Mr. Corey Hollis, and we wish you the best, man. Have a great night.
Thank you. Y'all too.
All right. Bye-bye.